Your heart is broken. The pain feels endless. You're wondering if you'll ever love again. But inside that shattered heart lies the seed of something beautiful, your next chapter. Every heartbreak carries two gifts: the chance to heal deeper than before, and the opportunity to create a love that's even more powerful. I've walked this path. I've felt that crushing weight on my chest. I've wondered if the pain would ever stop. And I discovered something life-changing. There's a specific process to transform heartbreak into healing. This isn't about getting over someone. It's about something far more important: rebuilding your relationship with yourself first. In this video, I'll share the exact steps that have helped thousands move from heartbreak to wholeness. You'll learn how to release old pain, reprogram limiting beliefs, and open yourself to love without fear. The truth is, your past relationship didn't break you. It broke open parts of you that needed healing all along. When you understand this, everything changes. Your future love story depends on what you do in this healing space. The work you do now determines everything about who you'll attract next. Accepting feelings isn't easy when they hurt. Pain wants to be acknowledged, not pushed away. We try so hard to escape what hurts. I'm fine becomes our shield. Distraction becomes our medicine. Work, social media, food, alcohol, anything to avoid facing the raw truth of a broken heart. But buried feelings don't disappear. They transform into anxiety, depression, physical illness, and sabotage future connections. Each suppressed emotion becomes a brick in the wall you're building around your heart. Healing starts with radical honesty. Yes, I feel rejected. Yes, I miss them. Yes, I'm afraid of being alone. Naming feelings removes their power to control you from the shadows. Create a daily ritual for emotional release. Sit quietly for 5 minutes each morning. Place a hand on your heart. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Allow whatever rises without judgment. Write it down. Tears may come, welcome them. Anger might surface. Give it space to breathe. Longing may wash over you. Acknowledge its presence. Notice how emotions move through your body when you stop fighting them. Tightness in your chest loosens. Knots in your stomach unwind. Tension in your shoulders releases. Feelings flow when given permission to exist. They're not permanent residents, they're visitors passing through. Acceptance doesn't mean you'll feel this way forever. It means you're brave enough to face what's true right now. Healing happens in layers. Some days bring unexpected peace. Others reopen wounds you thought were closed. Both are part of your heart's recovery. Moving forward doesn't require feeling over it completely. It requires making space for what's real while continuing to live. Self-compassion becomes crucial when heartbreak turns your inner voice cruel. That voice whispers painful accusations. Something must be wrong with me. I wasn't enough. I'll always be alone. We talk to ourselves in ways we'd never speak to someone we love. Harsh judgment becomes a constant companion, convincing us that criticism will somehow protect us from future pain. Nothing could be further from truth. Healing requires gentleness. Speak to yourself as you would speak to a dear friend facing heartbreak. What words would naturally flow? What comfort would you offer? Give yourself that same kindness. When painful thoughts arise, place a hand on your heart and say, "This hurts right now, and that's okay. I'm still worthy of love." Create new morning mirror rituals. Look into your eyes and say, I'm learning, I'm growing, I matter. These aren't empty affirmations, they're medicine for a wounded heart. Forgive yourself for whatever role you played, for ignoring red flags, for staying too long, for mistakes made from a place of fear. Perfection was never possible, even with perfect awareness. Self-compassion means accepting your humanity. Hearts get broken because they were brave enough to love. That courage deserves honor, not punishment. Write yourself a compassion letter. Detail everything you've survived. Acknowledge how hard you've tried. Express understanding for your pain. Read it when self-criticism takes over. Small acts of self-care become revolutionary when heartbroken. Preparing a nourishing meal, taking a gentle walk, allowing extra rest. Each choice tells your nervous system, you're safe now, I've got you. Healing flourishes in this gentle soil of self-kindness. Wounds close faster, wisdom grows deeper. Future relationships benefit from boundaries born not from bitterness, but from loving protection of your precious heart. Learning from past relationships transforms pain into wisdom when approached with curiosity instead of judgment. Failed relationships contain valuable information, not about worthiness, but about patterns that need attention. Ask powerful questions during quiet moments of reflection. What attracted me initially? When did I first notice problems? Which red flags did I ignore? What needs wasn't met? How did I abandon myself to keep peace? Honest answers reveal patterns across relationships. Perhaps choosing partners who need fixing, maybe sacrificing boundaries to avoid conflict, or possibly mistaking intensity for intimacy. Patterns exist for reasons rooted in childhood. Parents who made love conditional taught us to perform for affection. Inconsistent caregivers programmed us to accept crumbs of attention. Witnessing unhealthy dynamics normalized dysfunction. Awareness breaks these cycles. What felt like chemistry might actually be recognition of familiar dysfunction. What seemed like bad luck in love might be unconscious attraction to certain types. Create a relationship inventory without blame. List 3 past relationships. For each, note what worked, what didn't, and what you learned. Look for recurring themes. These themes aren't coincidences. Their guidance. Journaling accelerates insight. Complete these sentences. I keep finding myself with partners who I tend to feel unseen when. Arguments often happen when patterns emerge on paper that remain invisible in thought. Forgiveness becomes possible with understanding. Former partners acted from their own wounds, just as you did. This doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but liberates you from bitterness that blocks future love. Gratitude completes learning. Each relationship, even painful ones, delivered lessons needed for growth. Thank previous partners silently for these gifts. Moving forward requires integration, not amnesia. Carry forward lessons while leaving behind resentment. True healing happens when past relationships become teachers rather than haunting memories. Clear-eyed wisdom creates space for love that matches who you're becoming, not who you've been. Rebuilding self-worth requires recognizing a fundamental truth. Relationships end for countless reasons, yet we mistakenly internalize rejection as proof of our inadequacy. Self-worth collapses during breakups because we've attached our value to another person's perception. When they leave, that false foundation crumbles. Rejection triggers primal fears of abandonment, convincing us we're somehow defective. Nothing could be further from reality. Worth never depended on someone else's ability to see it. Worth exists independent of relationship status, independent of another's capacity to appreciate what you offer. Start rebuilding with a simple daily practice. Each night, list 3 things you handled well that day, maybe setting a boundary, perhaps completing a task despite emotional pain, or simply getting out of bed when grief felt overwhelming. Small wins accumulate into restored confidence. Identify activities that made you feel capable before the relationship. What brought you joy independently? What skills made you proud? Reconnect with these parts of yourself deliberately. Create an evidence journal countering negative beliefs. If thoughts whisper, I'm unlovable, list evidence proving otherwise. Friends who value you, family who stands beside you, moments you've shown love to others. Speak affirmations aloud while looking in mirrors. I am whole on my own. My worth doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to recognize my value. I bring gifts to every relationship. Challenge thoughts that diminish worth. When inner criticism attacks, ask, would I say this to someone I love? Is this absolutely true? What would someone who loves me say instead? Surround yourself with people who reflect your value back to you. Distance yourself temporarily from anyone who reinforces negative self-perception. Eventually, self-worth becomes unshakable because it's built on self-knowledge rather than external validation. From this foundation, future relationships enhance your life without defining your value. True worth, once recognized from within, can never be taken away again. Negative thoughts cycle endlessly after heartbreak, playing painful movies in our minds. I'll never find love again. Nobody stays. Dating is hopeless. These beliefs feel absolutely true when we're hurting. Mind patterns create our reality. What we think repeatedly shapes what we notice, influences how we behave, and ultimately determines what experiences we attract. Healing requires disrupting these toxic thought loops deliberately. Notice when painful thoughts arise without identifying with them. I'm having the thought that I'm unlovable creates crucial distance from I am unlovable. Thoughts aren't facts, they're habitual neural pathways strengthened through repetition. Pathways can be redirected with consistent practice. Start a thought journal. Draw a line down center of a page. On left side, write recurring negative thoughts. On right side, create balanced alternatives, not toxic positivity, but reasonable perspectives that allow possibility. I'll always be alone becomes, many people find love after heartbreak, and I possess qualities that make meaningful connection possible. Challenge absolute language in thoughts. Never, always, everyone, no one. These extremes rarely reflect reality, but intensify emotional pain significantly. Redirect mental energy when rumination begins. Physical movement interrupts thought spirals. Take a walk, dance to music, clean a drawer. Redirect focus to sensory experience. 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear. Morning meditations set mental tone for entire days. Spend 5 minutes focusing on breath before engaging with outside world. When thoughts intrude, label them gently. Planning, worrying, remembering. Then return attention to breathing. Create powerful replacement phrases for limiting beliefs. I attract unavailable partners. Shifts to, I'm learning to recognize and welcome healthy love. Repeat new phrases consistently until they feel familiar. Negative thoughts lose power when exposed to light. Speak them aloud to trusted friends. Write them down, then physically destroy the paper. Name them out loud when they appear. Ah, there's my not good enough story again. Eventually, new neural pathways form, creating space for love to enter unobstructed. Rediscovering yourself after a relationship ends creates beautiful opportunities disguised as loss. Identities blend during partnerships, sometimes leaving us wondering who we are when standing alone. Single time isn't empty space between relationships. It's sacred ground for reconnection with essence. Who were you before this relationship? What dreams did you set aside? Which parts of yourself did you silence to maintain harmony? Make lists of activities that sparked joy before your relationship began. Note interests abandoned during your time together. Resurrect old passions systematically, one each week. Try something entirely new weekly. Sign up for classes you've always been curious about: cooking, pottery, rock climbing, dancing. Novel experiences create neural pathways unconnected to past relationships. Travel alone, even just overnight, to nearby locations. Moving through unfamiliar environments without someone else's preferences to consider reveals forgotten aspects of personality. Order what appeals without negotiation. Sleep when tired without explanation. Follow curiosity without compromise. Create morning rituals honoring your needs. Perhaps quiet meditation, maybe energetic exercise, possibly creative expression. Choose based on what feels nourishing rather than what someone else might prefer. Reconnect with friends who knew you before your relationship. People who hold memories of who you've always been. Help stabilize identity during transition. Write letters from future self to present self, describing how this period of rediscovery laid foundations for amazing life chapters ahead. Detail specific qualities being strengthened through this process. Notice when decisions stem from habit versus authentic desire. Do I want this restaurant because my ex preferred it or because I truly enjoy it? Small choices rebuild autonomy. Fill evenings with meaningful activities rather than relationship substitutes. Quality solitude builds self-trust. Movies alone, museums at your pace, books that captivate your specific interests. Gradually, excitement replaces grief. Freedom replaces loss. Possibilities replace limitations. This journey back to self becomes so fulfilling that future relationships must earn their place in a life already rich with meaning. Setting healthy boundaries transforms future relationships when we recognize painful patterns from past connections. Heartbreak often reveals where boundaries were crossed, ignored, or never established. Boundaries aren't walls keeping people out, they're guidelines teaching others how to treat us. Clear boundaries communicate self-respect that invites respectful treatment from others. Start identifying needed boundaries through reflection. When did you feel resentful in past relationships? When did anxiety arise? Where did you compromise core values? These uncomfortable feelings signal boundary violations. Create categories for different boundary types. Physical boundaries protect your body, space, and privacy. Emotional boundaries guard your right to separate feelings. Time boundaries preserve energy for priorities. Material boundaries protect possessions and finances. Practice saying simple phrases. I'm not comfortable with that. That doesn't work for me. I need space to think about this. I have a different preference. Say these aloud until they feel natural coming from your mouth. Notice fear arising when considering boundaries. Many worry boundaries will push people away. Truth reveals exactly opposite effect. Clear boundaries attract people capable of respecting them while filtering out those who cannot. Test boundaries in low-risk situations before dating again. Decline invitations when you need rest. Express differing opinions among friends. Ask directly for what you need from family members. Healthy boundaries require consequences when crossed. Decide in advance what actions you'll take if important boundaries aren't respected. Perhaps limiting contact, maybe ending a dating situation, possibly having direct conversations about specific behaviors. Boundary setting becomes easier with practice. Start small. Notice how respecting your own limits increases confidence. Pay attention when others respond positively to your clarity. New relationships benefit immensely from boundaries established early. Share deal breakers on first dates. Communicate needs clearly before intimacy deepens. Watch carefully how potential partners respond to small boundaries before trusting them with significant ones. Self-respect shown through consistent boundaries attracts partners who value authentic connection over control, manipulation, or convenience. What feels uncomfortable at first eventually becomes your greatest protection against repeating painful patterns. Opening your heart again happens gradually, not all at once. Trust rebuilds in small steps after heartbreak, not through grand gestures or immediate vulnerability. Signs of readiness appear quietly. Noticing attractive people without comparing them to your ex. Feeling curious about connection rather than exhausted by the thought. Sensing hope rather than dread when considering dating apps. Fear will still be present. That's normal and healthy. Courage isn't absence of fear, but willingness to move forward despite it. Wise caution protects while allowing possibility to enter. Start with low-pressure social situations where romantic potential exists without expectation. Group activities centered around interests, community events, friend gatherings where meeting new people happens naturally. Notice what feels different now compared to previous dating phases. Perhaps you're drawn to different qualities. Maybe conversation topics that matter have changed. Possibly your tolerance for certain behaviors has decreased, while appreciation for others has grown. Take inventory of lessons integrated before dating intentionally. Can you identify relationship patterns clearly? Have you established firm boundaries? Do you recognize your worth independent of external validation? Does your life feel fulfilling on its own? Dating becomes an extension of self-discovery rather than a search for completion. Each interaction reveals more about your evolving needs, triggers, and desires. Move slowly with physical intimacy. Bodies remember pain and carry wisdom. Listen when internal alarms sound, even subtly. Physical boundaries protect emotional vulnerability until trust is established through consistent actions over time. Share your journey selectively with potential partners, not as warnings or baggage, but as context for who you've become. Someone worthy of your heart will appreciate the growth your pain has catalyzed. Watch for old patterns attempting to resurface. Pause when familiar dynamics emerge. Ask, is this healthy or simply comfortable because it's known? Hearts heal at their own pace. Some areas open easily while others require additional time. Honor this natural timing rather than forcing vulnerability before readiness. True love welcomes your careful, gradual unfolding, never demanding immediate access to parts still tender from previous wounds. Healing hearts create deeper capacity for love with each brave step taken. This journey requires patience with yourself, with timing, with the natural unfolding of growth. There's no perfect timeline, only perfect commitment to your own well-being. Transformation happens in spirals rather than straight lines. You'll revisit certain lessons repeatedly, each time with greater awareness and gentler self-compassion. Progress isn't measured by absence of pain, but by your relationship with it. Every heart carries wisdom from past loves. Every disappointment refines what you truly value. Every tear shed waters the soil where new possibilities grow. Nothing experienced has been wasted. All of it shapes the extraordinary person you're becoming. Remember that healing isn't about becoming perfect before love finds you again. It's about becoming whole enough to choose consciously rather than from loneliness or fear. It's about recognizing real love when it appears, because you've learned to give it to yourself first. Your capacity to love hasn't diminished, it's deepened. Your ability to connect authentically hasn't weakened, it's strengthened. Your heart hasn't closed permanently, it's simply become more discerning about who deserves access. If this video resonated with your healing journey, please take a moment to like it and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps these healing messages reach others walking similar paths. We're all in this journey together, learning to love better with each chapter. Remember, your heart knows how to heal. Trust its timing. Honor its wisdom. Follow its guidance toward the love you truly deserve.